Every year on Daniel's birthday, he got a card from his mother. There was just one problem. She died when he was only 10 years old. Before she died, Daniel's mom knew she wasn't going to get to watch him grow up. So during her final months, she wrote birthday cards for the years she knew she would miss. And she made Daniel's father promise to give him one every birthday. At 11, she wrote, "I hope you're still laughing too loud." That had been an inside joke between them when he was younger. At 16, she said, "You and your dad are probably driving each other crazy by now." And that was true. At 18, "I wish I could see the man you're becoming." Daniel saved everyone, because once a year, for a few minutes, it felt like his mom was with him again. But Daniel wouldn't learn until his 30th birthday that the cards weren't the biggest thing she had left behind. As he got older, something about his father started bothering him. His dad almost never talked about her. He rarely said her name. Whenever Daniel brought her up, the conversation seemed to end quickly. And eventually, Daniel started believing something he never said out loud. His dad had moved on, and Daniel hadn't. Over the years, that quiet resentment grew distance between them. But every birthday, the cards kept coming. And sometimes, they almost felt a little too perfect. At 15, after one of the worst fights Daniel had ever had with his father, his mother's card said, "There may come a time when you think your dad doesn't understand you. Give him time." Years later, after Daniel's first serious relationship ended, another card said, "Some people love you loudly. Others love you by staying." Daniel read that line over and over. He told himself his mom had just known him incredibly well. Then, Daniel turned 30. He opened his mailbox, and there it was. Same handwriting, same familiar envelope. But this time, written across the front were 5 words. "This is the last one." Daniel just stood there staring at it. He always knew the cards had to end. He just never knew which birthday would be the last. Inside, his mother had written only a few lines. "If you're reading this, your father kept his promise. Before you read anything else, ask him for the box." Daniel had no idea what that meant, so that night he went to his father's house. When he said, "Mom told me to ask you for a box," his father froze. He didn't ask Daniel what he meant. He just disappeared into the bedroom. And a minute later, he came back carrying an old wooden box. Inside were letters, dozens of them. But they weren't birthday cards, and they weren't written to Daniel. They were written to his father. His mother had left him instructions for the moments she knew she would never be there. Daniel opened one. "When he starts driving, I know you'll be terrified. Try not to let him see it." Another said, "When his heart gets broken, don't try to fix everything. Just sit beside him." Daniel stopped, because he remembered that night. After his first breakup, his father had come into his room and sat beside him for nearly 2 hours. He barely said a word. At that time, Daniel thought his dad just didn't know what to say. Now he knew. His mother had been guiding him. Daniel looked through more of the letters, and suddenly moments from his entire life started fitting together. Advice his father had given him. Conversations that seemed to come out of nowhere. Things his dad somehow knew to say at exactly the right time. The birthday cards had all been written before his mother died. His father had never changed a word. But while Daniel had been growing up reading letters from his mom, his dad had been reading letters too. Then, near the bottom of the box, Daniel found one final letter. His father already knew what it said. He had read it years ago. Daniel unfolded it. "There may come a day when our son thinks these birthday cards are how it stayed in his life. Please make sure he understands something. I only wrote them. You are the one who stayed." Daniel didn't say anything for a long time. For 20 years, he had believed his father was the one person who didn't understand how much he missed his mom. Now he realized his father had been missing her too. Daniel finally looked at him and asked, "Why didn't you ever tell me?" His father looked down at the box and said, "'Cause they were supposed to be from her." Daniel had spent 20 years believing his mother had found a way to stay. It took the last card for him to understand. His mother had written words, but his father had spent 20 years making sure she never disappeared.